Welcome back to the YouTube channels. Today we're going to be talking all things SSB bar. The SSB bar is one of our favorite pieces of equipment in the gym. Today we're going to be using the Iron Edge bar, which we absolutely love. We upgraded both our SSBs from the Muscle Motion bar, and we can't talk highly enough of the Iron Edge bar. We absolutely loved it. Some guys have lifted some huge weights in the gym here, over 200 kilos for reps on that bar. So we're going to be going through how it works, because there's some misconceptions with how it's loaded, where to position the handles, what you can actually use it for when it comes to, say, injuries or using it as an accessory. And at the end of the video, we'll give you some practical programming examples so you can take away from this video and actually apply it in the gym this week. So I just realized that I have been calling it the SSB bar. So the acronym safety squat bar would imply that the B is already the bar. So I've been saying bar. Just to clarify, we'll be calling it the SSB bar for the rest of the video. The common mistake that I see with the execution of an SSB squat is where the handles are positioned. Now, obviously for us, we're dealing with a lot of powerlifters, a lot of guys that are low barring and high barring to get a lot of their squat volume in. So they naturally feel a little bit more comfortable with their hips going back in the squat, loading up their hips and not allowing their knees to travel forward. So what they will do is use the bar and they'll pull the handles down to position the camber behind them to mimic a low bar back squat. They'll also then engage their lats, upper back, and really sink their hips back to lift as much weight as possible. Now, the point of the safety squat bar is to actually sort of mimic a front squat and keep you a little bit more upright. So we want to make sure that the handles are actually higher. We're focusing on wrapping our shoulder blades around the rib cage to get the rib cage to shift backwards and to keep us a little bit more upright when we squat. And as you can see, it'll start to mimic a little bit more of a front squat, and we'll start to load different muscles. We'll start to get a little bit more quads, anterior core, some serratus anterior when we wrap the shoulder blades around the rib cage. Now that's how we like to coach the safety squat bar here at Melbourne Strength Culture, because we do want to get away from that hingy squat pattern that we do get in the low bar back squat, which is awesome for lifting the heaviest amounts of weight possible, which we want as powerlifters. But when we program a squat like this, we do want to actually move away from that. So before we get into the positioning of the handles on the SSB squat, the most important thing to know when it comes to a safety squat bar and what makes these bars so special is this bit here, the camber. Now the longer this is, when you put the handles higher, it's going to push the weight out in front of us. And this is what makes the Iron Edge bar so great, is that it has a really nice camber. There are other bars where the weight is directly up here. There's a very small camber, and it means that the weight doesn't actually get in front of you and we don't get that front squatty looking SSB squat. So as you can see, when we put the handles up forward, the weight goes more anteriorly, and if you pull it back down behind us, the weight will stay more posteriorly. So when you're looking to buy an SSB bar, or if there's one at your gym, make sure you see if it does have a significant camber, because if it doesn't, there's really no point programming an SSB squat. Now the second thing is obviously having the handles up higher is greatly going to change or impact the center of mass over our base of support. When we put a bar on our back, we have the weight more posteriorly behind us, which means that we start to push our weight forward to counteract that, to keep us balanced over our feet. The SSB bar with the camber does the exact opposite. The camber allows the weight to be loaded anteriorly in front of us, which means we're going to posteriorly shift our weight back to keep us over our feet. So that's why we start to see the rib cage coming back and down and the pelvis come under us, and why we can hold a more upright position. So just to reiterate, we do want to keep the handles high on the safety squat bar, as this will start to mimic a little bit more of a front squat, whereas handles nice and low will probably keep us like a low bar back squat. So we've spoken a little bit about how the SSB bar affects your center of mass, affects rib cage and pelvic position, and when you have the handles high and low, how it can affect your squat. But some of the other things that we love about the safety squat bar in this gym is that we can use it for other accessories too. So single leg work is a big win with this bar. And for the same reasons as the squat, it's nice and easy to load on the shoulders and elbows. You just have the handles out in front of you. We've got the camber pushing the weight in front of us. When we start with an exhale, we can position the rib cage and pelvis nice and stacked over each other. If you haven't watched some of our other videos talking about the stack, highly recommend going to watch those first. And then you can just go through your split squat variations. It can be lunges, split squats, static split squats with a tempo. We can even add a deficit to the front foot to create a little bit more range of motion. And the other variation that we really love at this gym is a Hatfield split squat, using the rack to support and really focusing on output and just being able to pump out weight as a hypertrophy and strength builder. Cool, and the final variation that we love using here, because we don't have the Smith machine or anything like that, again for hypertrophy, is a Hatfield SSB squat. So using the rack to support, controlling down, and really being able to load up the quads. And again, the big benefit with the SSB bar is that it's nice and easy to support. As you can see, Jamie's got no support on the handles. It's still staying on his body. If you do hold the handles, it's nice and easy on the shoulders and elbows. And this can be a really, really good bar, or really good tool to use to get a lot of squat volume in and a lot of single leg work volume in. Now, the second thing here is that injuries. The SSB bar is a massive win when it comes to injuries. With a lot of our powerlifters and a lot of guys doing heavy back squats, more often than not, we do get injuries pop up where we start to see some elbow tendinopathy, elbow pain, discomfort, shoulder pain and discomfort. We can immediately switch people over to the SSB bar while they are rehabbing and recovering and working with our physio Dan to get them back squatting, but we can still keep their squat volume high by just simply chucking them over to the SSB bar. I really think if you don't have an SSB bar in your gym, you're missing out on a lot, because it will allow individuals to train through their rehab process. While they can't back squat, they can keep pumping out heavy loads, building their strength, building muscle with the SSB bar. So that is a big win, why we love the SSB bar here at Melbourne Strength Culture. So now that we've discussed some of the benefits of the SSB squat and how to actually use it and where to position the handles and how it affects the body, we're going to talk about actually applying it to your program. So I've written up an example here of a 2-day squat frequency per week. And for this example, we're going to use someone that's come just off a powerlifting competition or a peak of a 1RM test in the gym. So they've worked up to a peak, and now we're coming into a bit more of an off-season, skill-focused and hypertrophy-focused training period. So for this session, what we've done here is day one, we've kept the low bar back squat in there, the competition squat. This individual struggles hitting depth, so we've given them 2 count pause squats to work on that bottom position of the squat. 3x5 at a 7 to 8 RPE. For that second, their accessory day, focusing on a little bit more of a hypertrophy of the quads and glutes, we've given them a Hatfield split squat, which is exactly what Jamie did before in the video. 3x8 at 6 to 8 RPE. And now obviously for hypertrophy, this rep range can be anywhere from 6 to 15, roughly in that range, at a 6 to 9 RPE, but we've just used 3x8 for this example. And then on day 2, we've just come off a competition period, probably done a lot of specific low bar back squatting with very heavy weights to give the individual a little less stress on their shoulders and elbows. We're going to do their hypertrophy focused squatting with the SSB bar. So we've got an SSB squat, 3x10 at 7 to 8 RPE. Now this is just a very simple example of how we would use the safety squat bar in an individual's programming. Like I said, they've come off a competition and we want to use it to alleviate some of the stress on the shoulders and elbows while still building strength and size. So take some of these ideas, apply it to your own training this week. If you do, have a crack at it. Let us know how you go in the comments below. And as always, happy lifting.